Montu versus Kumba. These two roller coasters are the definition of old but gold. These two roller coasters are both intense and forceful B&M roller coasters from the 90s. And yet again they also stand in the same park. And yes, I'm of course talking about Busch Gardens Tampa in Florida. In this video these two roller coasters will go head to head in a battle. And which of these two coasters will prevail? Let me know in the comments before you see this video. I really want to hear your predictions. First of all, we're gonna talk about the stats these roller coasters bring to the table, and then after that we're gonna discuss the whole layout of each roller coaster, and then at the end we're gonna finally decide what is the best roller coaster right here. In terms of stats on paper, these two roller coasters look very alike. Montu is a steel inverted roller coaster made by B&M that opened in 1996. The height of this roller coaster is 150 feet and that is 46 meters. The drop is 128 feet and that is 39 meters. The length of the ride is 3,983 feet and that is 1,214 meters. The maximum speed is 60 miles per hour and that is 97 kilometers per hour. And Montu has a total inversion count of 7. Kumba is a steel sit-down roller coaster made by B&M back in 1993. The height of Kumba is 143 feet and that is 44 meters. The drop is a bit larger than Montu, standing at 135 feet and that is 41 meters. The length is just like Montu, around 3,978 feet and that is 1,212 meters. And the speed is also exactly at like 60 miles per hour and that is 97 kilometers per hour. And the total inversion count is also 7. So now let's talk about the individual roller coasters, starting with Kumba. Kumba was actually the first B&M roller coaster in the world with interlocking corkscrews, which is very iconic for the ride. Even though these corkscrews are iconic, these deliver the most mediocre forces on the ride. The drop on Kumba isn't so steep, that means anywhere you sit on the train you can't get any airtime. But airtime really isn't the purpose of Kumba. The rest of Kumba's layout really pulls some strong positive G-forces on the body. Kumba is only one of 5 roller coasters in the whole world that has a vertical loop that goes around the lift hill. And after this loop the ride experience only gets more dizzying for your head. Kumba goes into a very strong dive loop delivering strong G-forces. After that Kumba flies over the station and into a 0G roll that really has a lot of whip and speed. After that Kumba flies low to the ground into a cobra roll, and this cobra roll is one of the most intense moments on Kumba. Then after that you can quickly catch your breath on the trim brakes before you go into the interlocking corkscrews, which are a bit mediocre compared to other Kumba elements. Then after the interlocking corkscrews, Kumba dives into a tunnel and into a very positive G-force heavy helix. Then after a dizzying and G-force heavy helix you finally fly into the final brake runs on Kumba. Overall Kumba really is a great, forceful and intense ride, and I mainly sat in the front row because it gave a really smooth experience. If you sit in the back row of Kumba you can really get a lot more whip on the inversions, and these whips going out of the elements really pulls a lot more G-forces. But the back row comes with a price, and that is a small rattle that could be unpleasant for some people. But Kumba still stands strong, intense and somewhat smooth, and it is a ride from 1993, so I respect that, and it can still compete with many newer roller coasters. And now it's time to talk about Montu. Being an inverted coaster, Montu actually hangs under the track, and that means Montu's ride experience still feels a lot different, and that is very weird because they have almost the same layout. Even though Montu's drop is shorter than Kumba's, it still feels more whippier, especially if you sit in the back row. Then Montu flies into a vertical loop that pulls some very strong G-forces. Then it flies into an Immelman inversion that yet again gives strong positive G-forces. After that Montu flies into a very intense and very whippy 0G roll. Montu sadly flies into a little trim brake, slowing the train down, but it makes up for it because it goes into a very intense batwing. This batwing pulls some intense G-forces, especially in the back row with the pull. Then you can shortly catch your breath on the trim brakes, and then you quickly get whipped down this sharp drop again. Down into the trenches you go and up into a sharp vertical loop giving positive G-forces yet again. And then you take a very intense and sharp turn out of the trenches again. And then unfortunately Montu crawls a bit around and then turns to the left down the trenches again. Then Montu hits a very whippy corkscrew inversion going in and out of the trenches. And then the train takes one last whippy and intense forceful turn into the final brake runs, of course. If you want the most intense experience on Montu you have to choose the back row. The back row offers a more intense pull going out of all the elements, but that doesn't come with the cost of smoothness. It is still smooth in the back row. The 2 vertical loops on Montu are also very intense. They pull a lot of positive G-forces. And the 0G roll on Montu also offers a very good whip, but nothing can beat the intensity of the batwing on Montu. The 2 inversions on the batwing just pull some crazy amounts of G-forces, especially in the back row with the whip. The only negative thing I have to say about Montu is in the second half where you slowly just fly around and turn to the left. That doesn't really offer anything before you hit the corkscrew. But after a ride on Montu, you can really feel that the blood is gone from your feet. So what is the best overall coaster out of these two B&Ms? In the end, I'll have to go with Montu. Overall, these are both two great roller coasters that almost offer the same ride layout, but there is a little difference. Montu really just offers a bit more whip and a bit more intensity on almost every element. The main difference between Kumba and Montu is that every inversion on Montu hits different. The two interlocking corkscrews on Kumba are somewhat mediocre in my opinion, but that really doesn't make Kumba a bad coaster. I'm still comparing it to Montu, which is a very good coaster. Sitting in a coaster from 1996, I'm very surprised when I sit in the back row and I can't feel any rattle or something else. And in the end of the day, that really showcases that Busch Gardens Tampa are great at maintaining their roller coasters. So give them a round of applause. Come on. So now we've come to the end of this video. I really want to know if you've chosen Kumba or Montu. Let me know in the comments. And if you really like this video, please give me a like, a subscription or something else. I don't know, but at the end of the day, that's your choice. And then I'm gonna say bye.